Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you wouldn't mind hitting that like button and subscribing to my channel, that'd be great. Before we get too far into today's topic, I did want to bring some things up. So I released a short this morning talking about one of my other videos that I released on Sunday, Women in Construction. I am grateful for all of the viewers who have stuck around and watched that episode. It's been a huge success and a huge hit. I do want to emphasize that this channel is a place where all opinions can be heard. But please, please, please keep those comments respectful. I do not agree with most of the comments, but that's the purpose of this YouTube channel, right? You're gonna find people with different viewpoints and opinions, and I hope that this will become a place where we can have these honest discussions. One of the things that was said in one of the comments I'm gonna bring up briefly real quick was that human resources does not exist in the trade. That is not true. Now, depending on the size of the company, that is going to vary depending on, how many staff you have. A lot of people working for a large company, you're gonna have a large human resource department. A company with about 100 people, maybe one. Less than that, owner-operator usually gets to decide. Now, with all of that being said, I am grateful. Yet again, I want to say thank you so much for those comments. It really does help out the channel. And going forward, we're going to be doing those Construction Sunday episodes. But for today's topic, we're going to be talking about shame and One Piece. Tomorrow is the final episode of this series, and I can't wait to talk about today's topic. So without further ado, let's get into it. What do dishonesty and indebted servitude have in common? Well, that is today's topic. We are going to be talking about Sanji and Usopp. Now, some will say, hey, you did that in the correct order. However, I think they're equally important, and that's why I went with Sanji first. Now, with that opinion out of the way, let's get into it. Sanji is someone who feels like he can't live his own life and fulfill his own destiny because he is indebted to his savior. Yet his savior wants nothing to do with him. His savior, Captain of the Cook Pirates, former Captain of the Cook Pirates, wants him to live his own life, find the old blue, and achieve the dream he sought that he could never have. There's something poetic about that, because when you often think about destiny and choice and chance, you often encounter that a lot of people get in their own way and they settle. Let's take construction, for example, right? I saw a comment today on one of my other videos saying that, the culture is brutal and I didn't fit in the company I worked for and that I should just capitulate. When you capitulate to a culture in any industry, any job, any profession, you end up giving up a part of yourself. Sanji is no different. Sanji worked in this kitchen. He disagreed with all of the menu items and did not like the way he was preparing meals. He gets kicked off the Grand Line and starts waiting tables. The issue you find is that when you feel like you're indebted to someone, you do not want to betray that trust. You may hate that individual, you may even fear that individual. But at the end of the day, what you end up encountering is someone who is mad at themselves for not being able to achieve their own dreams. Now, in Sanji's case, all along, he's been able to do just that. Zeff was an adventurer. He was a captain. He was somebody who would have ripped your throat out if you disagreed with any ingredient he put in anything. But as fate would have it, Zeff and Sanji find themselves marooned on a rock after a terrible storm. Both ships sink, taking with it men and women, both crews and passengers from two different ships with two different objectives. Passenger ship traveling the ocean blue, and a pirate ship looking for a great score and something to plunder. As we find Sanji, we realize that the reason why he feels indebted is that Not only did Zeff give up all of the food that would have been available that he could scrounge up before the ship went under, you also find the tragedy that being there for countless days, that Sanji finishes the food and out of desperation is starving to death and has no idea what's going on. He goes to the other side of this rock to confront Zeff and say, I'm going to kill you. You should have given me more food. As Sanji discovers that there was no food in his bag, Zeff saw in Sanji something he saw in himself, a desired destiny to seek out the Old Blue. And the real tragedy with all of this is that Zeff eats his own leg to survive. As fate would have it, they get rescued, and the universe is looking in favor of these two people. Sanji is a troubled person, and we don't have to look very far to see how far his troubles go. But regardless, what we see is someone that inevitably, what we see is somebody who feels like they are indebted to their savior, as mentioned earlier. So with that in mind, let's compare that to an honorable liar. Usopp. Captain Usopp. The real stories of Captain Usopp. The village clown. The village idiot, if you will. People are both annoyed and afraid of this man. And the interesting phenomenon with Usopp is that he becomes the best friend of the richest person in the entire village. Someone who basically built the village. Now, we talked about this yesterday when we were talking about Nami, captain of the Black Cat Pirates, is under their nose working in this giant mansion to try and run away and start anew. Yet all of these stories end up coming together. Fate and the universe both work in mysterious ways, and for our heroes, we also notice not only are they mischievous, not only are they good people, but they're also ambitious. They all have their own dreams. Usopp has told so many lies. He is the boy that cried wolf. He is the man that he could tell the truth and no one would listen to him. No one would probably even look him in the eye if you gave him the chance. Not like I would look anybody in the eye in general, but just saying. Anyway, but when you look at all of this, you have an interesting encounter with these two people who otherwise are completely opposed from one another. Dishonesty and indebted servitude have one thing in common, and that is that they are both lies. You can lie to yourself for so long that you become your own worst enemy. Take, for example, someone who works on a job site, someone who's working hard with the guys, but denies their own reality in their own values and what they believe in order to capitulate to current standards, trends, or practices. You know they could be wrong. You know they could be beneficial. Regardless of which it is, you are giving up something important, if not the most important thing, your own integrity. When you lie to yourself and tell yourself something to be true, and it's not, you become the most dishonest person alive. Because if you can't be honest with yourself, how can you be honest with your lover, your family, or any of your friends? We can look at so many different examples of destructive patterns of behavior that it's not even funny, but let's take one. I'm going to speak from personal experience here and share my story of coming out. When I was in high school and I started understanding my sexuality, one thing that was abundantly clear was that I was different. I didn't want to be different. When I was growing up, I was very, very religious, and I was a part of a high-demand religion. I'm sure a lot of you down in the comments can guess which religion. There were countless days that I tried to pray the gay away. Let me tell you, it never works. And I became so angry. I was angry at God, I was angry at myself, and I felt like since nothing was going to change, why be myself? Because no one will accept me for myself, because I couldn't admit to myself who I was, what I was, who I could be. All of these things are crucial especially when it comes to personal development. When you're looking at things from afar, it becomes clear on what you should do in order to become a successful person. I would say that if you're struggling with anything, regardless of depression, anxiety, sexual orientation, whether it's harassment, I don't care. All of these things are very important. In the construction industry, I'm not saying that they should change things now, but the fact of the matter is things are changing, and the numbers prove it. The reason why I wanted to do this series on One Piece is because I find it fascinating, because it is a one-for-one representation of our modern work environment. And you do not have to look very far. 100 years ago, as the US was developing, a lot of wonderful things were happening. But the biggest thing that was happening was a hostile work environment. Unions were created to bust up these situations where employers were taking advantage of their workers. We don't have to look very far, because this pattern of behavior is still occurring today, where people are being taken advantage of. People are workplace bullies. You look at One Piece as a whole, and you can see that story being repeated episode after episode after episode. Each band of pirates has a different objective, a different goal. Some are to find the Old Blue, some are to find the One Piece. Some are to become king of the pirates, and others just want to plunder, destroy, and seek revenge. Regardless of the objective, pirates can be very destructive. When you have a group of people that don't fit into a system, what do? You have options, right? These people can, follow orders. These people can do hard work, and they don't mind getting paid and working hard hours. But the reason why I bring up the trades so often, not only was I a tradesman for so long, but I was denying my own interests and what made me, me. My goal and my objective here is to showcase, no matter how many times you lie to yourself, eventually you have to pay. And the rooster is coming home. And what are you going to do when someone will not let you back in? Industry changes. Companies evolve. Culture changes. When you adapt, sometimes you're giving up. But what are you losing in the process? You lose quite a bit. Usopp told himself that his father was coming back so many times that he started to believe it. His dad was a great, great man, and probably in this world still is. Usopp is an interesting man. Loses his mother. His father goes off to follow his dreams to become a pirate. The interesting thing in all of this is that Usopp does not blame his father for leaving. His mother, who on her deathbed admitted the same thing, never blamed her husband for leaving them because he was following his dream. Compare that to a movie like Coco, where the musician wanders off and De La Cruz steals all of that talent away from a family and kills his best friend in the process. Compare the two situations. They are completely different. One is about greed, fame, notoriety. The other is about fulfilling your dreams and your ambitions and trying to be optimistic. Yelling, "The pirates are coming, the pirates are coming!" Not just to seek guidance or support, but to make people aware that he believes his father is still alive, that his father will still come back for him. It takes his best friend encountering death in order for him to realize he may not see his father again, but that he should follow in his father's footsteps and follow his dreams. When you blindly follow someone else's goals or dreams, you are inadvertently lying to yourself. When you tell yourself that I have to stay in this kitchen and cook food I don't like because this man needs my help, that is a lie. Zeff even tells Sanji to get out. Ironically, both Sanji and Usopp find them a part of the Straw Hat pirates. The incredible storytelling and captivating emotions that are told in the world of One Piece are nothing short of all-encompassing, very well-rounded. And I see myself, my past self, in both Sanji and Usopp. If you were to work for a company for, let's say, 5 years, and that company was great in the beginning, but after your first year, you're telling yourself, oh, well, they take care of us, it's like family. And yet again, and again, and again, you get dumped on. You get blamed for problems. You are there cheerleading that company. You want that company to be successful. But at the end of the day, that company doesn't have your back in return. Why are you wasting your time? Why are you giving up your freedom? Why are you capitulating to the demands of others when they don't give you that respect, when they don't give you that bonus, when they don't give you anything that represents your worth or your value? You are better than this. This has been an incredible journey to go on. From diversity to dishonesty, and we still have one more day to go. There are so many different points of view in One Piece that I could probably talk about this series for a lifetime. But I won't. Because imagination is a beautiful thing. And in order to justify these stories and these means of self-expression, you really need to go out there and watch this show and watch the anime. Enjoy all of it. Embrace it. There are so many captivating moments that you could watch this series and find something new every single time. And that is why I love One Piece. And it means something special to me. And I hope it means something special to you. But what do you guys think? Do you think that Sanji and Usopp are there for comic relief? Or do you think they're there to bolster the entire crew and help enlighten everybody? I would say that they are there for the latter reason. They are there to bring unity. They're there to tell their own story. They're done lying to themselves. They're done lying to others. They're done with the status quo, and they are ready to become their own people. This video is an interesting one to make because a lot of people end up arguing one way or another what should or should not be done. But I am grateful for everyone sticking around and watching these videos, so thank you so much for watching, and until next time, this has been my Coffee Corner, and I'll catch you on the next one.